In this podcast episode, Dr. Paul Conti, a seasoned trauma psychiatrist, explores the complexities of mental health beyond surface-level symptoms. He discusses the importance of looking beneath the hood to understand the deeper causes of anxiety, depression, and other struggles. Dr. Conti emphasizes cultivating compassionate curiosity toward oneself, balancing fundamental human drives, and taking active agency to foster mental well-being. The conversation navigates through the mechanisms of self-awareness, the structure and function of the mind, trauma's influence on behavior, and the empowering potential of rewriting personal narratives. The episode also touches on societal challenges like stigma, the impact of modern technology on collective mental health, and practical steps for setting boundaries and enhancing flourishing. Dr. Conti opens by critiquing how mental health care often focuses on alleviating symptoms like low mood or anxiety, polishing the hood, without investigating underlying causes, the engine itself. He stresses that many mental health issues are manifestations of deeper struggles, such as lack of meaning, unresolved trauma, or unsafe life situations. The field's hesitance to look inward fosters fear and avoidance in patients, reinforcing stigma and limiting self-understanding. By framing mental health similarly to physical health, with organs and systems to comprehend and nurture, we can build confidence and reduce fear around self-inquiry and healing. Many people resist introspection because they fear what they might discover about themselves, often influenced by guilt, shame, or internalized negative beliefs. Dr. Conti explains that most individuals carry a natural reflex of fear toward the unknown within their minds, which is frequently compounded by trauma. However, with compassionate curiosity, approaching oneself with kindness rather than anger or frustration, self-exploration becomes a route to healing, not devastation. Avoidance only prolongs suffering, while gently shining light on internal experiences, like illuminating a clothes tree that appears monstrous in the dark, leads to clarity and empowerment. Dr. Conti introduces the principle of simple goodness, proposing that mental health work need not be complicated or intimidating. Instead, it involves observing oneself honestly and compassionately, acknowledging strengths and weaknesses, and gradually making healthier choices. He encourages viewing self-inquiry not as self-indulgence, but as essential self-care, similar to eating well or exercising. This perspective helps dismantle internalized messages that personal reflection is selfish or vain and promotes a practical, problem-solving mindset for mental health. Humans are storytelling beings, and the stories we tell ourselves shape our emotional world and behavior. Dr. Conti highlights how many people harbor negative life narratives unconsciously constructed from selective painful experiences. These stories lead to biased self-perceptions that become self-fulfilling prophecies. Importantly, individuals have the agency to revise their narratives, emphasizing resilience and positive truths rather than reinforcing defeat and isolation. This reauthoring of personal stories is empowering and central to mental health recovery. Central to Dr. Conti's model is the identification of three essential human drives. The assertion drive motivates individuals to have an impact and matter in the world. The pleasure drive encompasses seeking safety and comfort. Beyond these, Dr. Conti emphasizes a third and often overlooked generative drive, the desire to contribute altruistically, improve the world, and connect meaningfully with others. This drive is key to flourishing as it harmonizes the other drives and leads to a life of purpose, agency, humility, and gratitude. When assertion and pleasure are unbalanced, such as excessive striving without joy or dominance with disregard for others, individuals face distress, cynicism, or burnout. The generative drive acts as a regulating force, fostering a healthy integration of efforts to assert oneself, seek pleasure, and contribute beyond self-interest. Flourishing emerges when these drives coexist in balance, supporting inner peace, contentment, and delight. This synthesis moves beyond mere happiness to a sustainable state of well-being. Dr. Conti delineates the five-part structure of self, including unconscious mind, conscious awareness, defense mechanisms, character structure, and the I that experiences time and agency. Defense mechanisms, often automatic reactions to discomfort, can be understood and redirected with self-awareness. Examining how one reacts under stress, for example, becoming defensive, avoidant, or aggressive, offers clues about underlying fears and unresolved wounds. Self-observation, combined with compassionate inquiry, enables individuals to loosen unhealthy patterns. The function of self involves the active movement of consciousness through time, focusing on what is salient, what captures attention, and directing behaviors towards strivings or goals. Mental health improvement requires that behaviors align with one's true purposes and desires. Change is difficult and often unsuccessful when efforts only target behavior without addressing ingrained thoughts, beliefs, and unconscious narratives. Understanding this recursive relationship between mindset and action clarifies why self-change is complex yet achievable. Being fully present allows one to access emotions such as gratitude, connection, and delight, which are crucial for healthy mental states. Dr. Conti highlights how busyness and avoidance prevent people from experiencing these states by keeping them trapped in anxious or reactive cycles. Slowing down, even briefly, to observe how one thinks, feels, and behaves fosters self-understanding. This mindfulness is a necessary foundation for compassionate curiosity and meaningful change. Addressing trauma's impact, Dr. Conti explains that people often unconsciously recreate painful relational patterns because they lack awareness or methods to change them. This is not about comfort in suffering, but rather about attempts to fix past wrongs or make things right, repeated unsuccessfully due to unrecognized core beliefs formed in childhood. Healing involves uncovering these origins, challenging false internalized messages, and learning healthier ways to relate to oneself and others. For many, setting boundaries is unfamiliar and uncomfortable, especially if they have a history of people-pleasing or fear of abandonment. Dr. Conti advises careful planning and mental rehearsal to state boundaries clearly and calmly, emphasizing intentions rather than punishment. Success is measured by self-care and self-respect, not by others' reactions. Knowing what to do if boundaries are crossed, including disengaging or seeking support, helps sustain these new patterns and protects mental health. Because self-perceptions are often inaccurate, input from trusted others is invaluable. Feedback can reveal blind spots, especially when trauma or shame distorts self-view. Dr. Conti encourages open, honest conversations where one can inquire about changes in behavior or mood and collaboratively investigate causes. This reflective process supports better self-understanding and breaks cycles of denial and avoidance. Rather than harsh judgment, approaching oneself with compassionate curiosity fosters insight and motivates change. Dr. Conti reiterates that most people's negative self-talk stems from outdated trauma-based beliefs, not objective truth. By practicing kindness to oneself and maintaining hope, individuals can dismantle harmful narratives and implement small, achievable steps toward mental wellness. The episode addresses contemporary social polarization and anxiety heightened by uncertainty in digital media silos. Dr. Conti suggests that recognizing shared human goals, safety, care, connection, can provide common ground despite differing beliefs. Curiosity about one's own reactions and fears of difference allows for empathy rather than aggression. Setting this internal foundation enables more constructive, respectful interactions with others. Reflecting on how digital technologies exacerbate isolation and misinformation, Dr. Conti urges society to slow down and leverage multidisciplinary wisdom to manage these influences responsibly. Recognizing the power and risks of technology, he calls for intentionality and accountability in how we consume and engage with information to protect collective mental well-being. While advocating for widespread personal understanding and self-help, Dr. Conti acknowledges the important role of mental health professionals, especially in severe cases or complex trauma. However, he critiques the field's over-reliance on pathologizing and symptom-focused approaches. He promotes a holistic model grounded in clear principles and empowering individuals to actively participate in their healing beyond clinical settings. Normalizing mental health challenges as common aspects of the human experience reduces shame and barriers to seeking help. Dr. Conti emphasizes that all people face struggles and that change is always possible. Moving away from identifying solely with trauma or dysfunction toward viewing oneself as a growing, capable individual transforms mental health from a fixed diagnosis to a dynamic journey. Discussing looks maxing and similar phenomena, Dr. Conti connects these to broader attempts to externally mask or compensate for internal feelings of insecurity or dissatisfaction. Such behaviors reflect cultural pressures amplified by social media, where performative aspects intersect with individual vulnerabilities. Awareness of these dynamics encourages a balanced approach to self-presentation and deeper internal work. Addressing listeners who feel hopeless or incapable of growth, Dr. Conti invites them to begin with kindness toward themselves and small, manageable steps rather than overwhelming expectations. He notes that the very act of seeking understanding, as anyone tuning in is doing, is a foundation of hope and evidence of inner resources. Change is accessible to all, regardless of circumstances or past difficulties. Ultimately, Dr. Conti's message is one of agency, balanced by humility and gratitude. Recognizing our imperfections and struggles as part of shared humanness, while actively striving for improvement aligned with generativity, equips us to navigate life with resilience. Peace, contentment, and delight arise from this intentional balance and ongoing self-awareness, which can be cultivated at any stage of life.